Thank you for joining us. I'm Dakota Makris. An Eastern Kentucky school may not be open to students until next year after the devastating July flooding. Buckhorn was surrounded by water during the flooding, but most of the damage it incurred was from debris that broke through doors and windows. Our Phil Pendleton went back there and shows us how work is getting things back to normal.
More than 300 students are now going to a temporary location, A.B. Combs School in Hazard, after floodwaters breached this school, and a lot of damage was done by the water and a lot of debris.
It's been a wonderful transformation. Once we found that we were going to be able to be here at A.B. Combs together with all the students and staff.
All but 20 students are in the school that was available, then quickly painted and then renovated to accommodate the students from the flooded school. They'll learn here while renovations take place, and there's a massive cleaning operation underway at Buckhorn. The drawing out process from ServPro will take through next week, then rebuilding will begin.
Still, a lot of windows have to be replaced. All interior doors have to be replaced. And we have some interior walls that will have to be replaced.
And this is not the only location where students are having to be transported to another school. The same thing is happening with the Robinson Elementary School that sustained a lot of damage and lack of access because of what happened during the flooding. And this is not the only school that is dealing with this here in this county. Students at the Robinson Elementary are also having to be transported to the A.B. Combs School as well because of what floodwaters did to that school. In Perry County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Some students who attend Buckhorn actually have a closer trip to the Hazard School because they don't have to travel over Chavies Mountain. Well, after Fleming Neon and its surrounding communities took on more water than anyone expected during the late flooding in July, many people started looking for ways to give back. Ed Taylor and his wife Donna took the floods as a sign that it was time to do something they have been planning for a while. Started Ministry, all about giving back to those in need. For the floods, they spent several holidays running a blessing box in wheels, hitting the streets to deliver meals to those in need, something they now see as a greater calling, which they are calling Cast No Stones Ministries.
The object of this ministry is not to tell people what they've done right or what they've done wrong, or even offer advice. It's just feed them. Hungry's hungry, no matter what situation you're in.
We'll hear more about the ministry and how it has molded into something more for the Taylors coming up tonight at 6 o'clock.
Well, while many of us continue to see sunshine, some of us are actually seeing a little bit of cloud cover as we work through the afternoon hours. Again, not a huge deal out there, but some of us could see a little overcast. It's not a sign of any rain moving in or anything like that, but it is keeping temperatures a little cooler. 73 right now, the reading at London Corbin Airport. Around the region, low to mid 70s. The big calling cards out there. 73 Manchester, London, Williamsburg, even over toward Jonesville. 74 Middlesboro. And the big winners so far this afternoon, Somerset at 75 degrees. Dew points around the region, low to mid 50s, so we are more than comfortable outside, well into that comfortable category. You see a few of those clouds kind of pushing into the region from west to east, and they should continue to scoot on out as we head through the remainder of tonight, and we'll keep an eye on it. Planning the evening out, 5 o'clock, we're in the mid-70s still with fair skies in many spots, though a few clouds in others. 64 by 9 o'clock, we start to dry things out, or, well, we're already dry, but we start to clear things out, and we're in the upper 60s by 2 o'clock as patchy fog starts to develop in the mountains. I'll have the latest on that fog and what the evening looks like, including the next few days, coming up in just a few minutes. Dakota?
All right, Evan, thank you. A growing number of schools nationwide are turning to armed security to protect kids. CBS's Michael George visited one school to see how they balance safety with education.
For many kids returning to the classroom, this will be the new normal. More and more schools are implementing armed security in the wake of the massacre in Uvalde. At the Derby School District in Connecticut, armed officers have been on patrol for 5 years.
We don't know the next time somebody could come through a school door in any school across this country. And you want to know you've done everything in your power to protect the people inside.
Hi, Miss C. How are you?
All security officers here are required to be former law enforcement. They spend a lot of time communicating with teachers and talking to students. But lead security officer Tom Paytak says their mission is not student discipline.
We are here to make sure everyone comes to school, comes in safe, leaves safe, and that everyone's here. There's no intruders, there's no issues outside in the perimeter.
Here in Derby, safety officers are carrying their weapons in the open. The point is to be visible so potential threats know the school has armed security. But armed guards are not an automatic deterrent. A study in JAMA Network Open found in 1 in 4 school shootings, the school did have armed security on site. And with districts nationwide considering armed guards, parents are debating the merits and pitfalls.
For people of color, especially, it makes us a little more nervous naturally, just because of history.
Parent Joe Martino, who's an unarmed school security officer, says he feels better knowing his daughter has armed guards at her school.
They're right on hand in case something does happen. They're you don't have to wait for 2, 3, 4 minutes for the police to come. They're right there ready to act.
He hopes they never have to act, but like so many parents, he knows school shootings can happen in any community. Michael George, CBS News, Derby, Connecticut.
The Derby School District says before hiring armed security guards, they held numerous forums and information sessions with parents. Well, a poll conducted by Axios and Ipsos from September 9th to 12th says pollsters are checking in on Americans 2.5 years into the COVID-19 pandemic. 80 to 90% of people report having very or somewhat good physical and mental health, emotional well-being, and home lives. More than 80% agree the United States is in a better place now than 1 year ago, though nearly 90% say COVID has changed our lives forever. Despite the positive outlook on physical health, the numbers aren't quite as optimistic for financial health. 78% report their personal finances are in very or somewhat good shape. That could be due to inflation, which soared during the summer. And it looks like Americans will not be going crazy with holiday gifting this year. A new forecast from consulting firm Deloitte expects retail sales for the gift buying months of November, December, and January to increase 4 to 6%. That's modest compared to the robust 15.1% rather increase for the same time frame last year. This year's expected slower growth is in line with where holiday retail sales were trending before the pandemic. Higher costs for everyday items and services due to inflation is a big reason for the lower projection. Gifting categories that are still expected to do well this year are clothing, toys, and gift cards separately. The firm expects online holiday spending this season to outpace last year's growth. Small gains for small businesses. A report on small businesses owners' confidence showed some improvement in August. The Small Business Optimism Index tracks how owners feel about everything from hiring to inventory to the economy and whether they're considering expanding. August's rating was nearly 2 points higher than July as inflation fears settled a bit, down from 37% of owners who said it was their biggest challenge to 29%. Still, a little less fear clearly doesn't mean complete optimism, with one economist saying small businesses are still recovering from the pandemic and, quote, inflation continues to be a serious problem and the worker shortage impacting small business productivity. The Food and Drug Administration is set to consider the first ever over-the-counter birth control pill. Today, a joint advisory meeting was officially scheduled for November. Officials will review an application for the over-the-counter approval of the contraceptive O pill. The contraceptive pill is a non-estrogen pill taken orally once a day to prevent pregnancy. It is currently available with a prescription. HRA Pharma submitted the application weeks after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. A company officials said over-the-counter approval will, quote, help even more women and people access contraception without facing unnecessary barriers. The review is scheduled for November 18th. However, right now it's unclear what will be discussed or when a vote might take place. Well, coming up as First at 4 continues, one automotive research group says Americans paid a record high for a new car last month. We'll have more on that.
Sunshine abundant in the forecast for many as we head through tonight and really through the week. Details coming up.